Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping straight into a truly fascinating text, The Grace of a Life Chanyuan Celestial. This material is drawn directly from the teachings and works of Guide Su Feng, or as it's anchored in its original context, Lai Shengmen Shanyan Life Chanyuan Daoyou Sui Feng Jiaowei He Zhu. We're going to take a highly objective, analytical approach today to really explore this archetype and the grand philosophical framework built right around it. Okay, let's dive right into this with a quote that sets the stage. A single celestial encompasses an entire universe. Who can imagine it? Right off the bat, Su Feng establishes this tone of transcendental romanticism. We aren't just talking about a slightly improved human being here, or, a self-help guru. This is an ethereal cosmic entity. It's a grandiose claim for sure, but it immediately sets the scale for literally everything that follows. All right, Section 1. Who is a celestial? Let's explore the archetype. In the Life Chanyuan teachings, a celestial is explicitly defined as a creation of the greatest creator, and crucially, they're said to be descending right amidst intense earthly upheaval to pursue absolute truth and what the text poignantly capitalizes as life. So, to ground us a bit, the text positions these not as ordinary humans, but as cosmic beings arriving with a very specific divine purpose during times of massive global transformation. The source material uses these incredibly beautiful, poetic nature metaphors to describe these beings. It calls them solitary peaks to represent this profound independence rising above the crowd. Steadfast pines symbolize resilience and nobility against life's harsh winds. Celestial cranes illustrate unrestrained grace, while vibrant clouds depict ultimate adaptability. It's a super vivid way of describing a highly evolved state of being, even if, most days the rest of us just feel like exhausted pigeons. Now notice how the text heavily utilizes stark contrast as a primary teaching tool. Xu Fan continuously juxtaposes the enlightened, serene, celestial seeking ultimate truth against what he calls the mundane world. On one side, profound stillness. On the other, the everyday world described as bustling crowds hustling blindly like dust particles for fleeting wealth and fame. It's a really sharp dichotomy. Which brings us to Section 2, Echoes of the Ancients, Grounding the Ethereal. And this brilliantly illustrates how the celestial archetype is constructed. Xu Feng essentially builds it as a master synthesis of China's absolute greatest historical and literary minds. The text claims a celestial possesses the magical mastery of Zhang Ziya, the brilliant stratagems and tactics of Zheng Liang, the unmatched wisdom of Zhuge Liang, and the legendary literary brilliance of Li Bai. It's fascinating because it successfully translates abstract cosmic power into recognizable earthly human genius. But then we hit this really fascinating paradox. The text states, if people do not laugh, the Tao cannot be the true Tao. Without ridicule, one cannot become a true celestial. So facing mockery from the mundane world isn't just a hurdle you have to cross, it's presented as a required validation of the celestial's path. Basically, if the bustling crowds aren't laughing at you, you aren't doing it right. It's a clever way to reframe societal rejection into absolute spiritual confirmation. And despite this expected pushback, the source material projects an immense, almost epic scale for this movement. The text boldly declares that 10,000 celestials will command the winds and clouds. It completely brushes off any modern doubts, insisting that these 10,000 transcendent beings are going to rise up to steer the tides of global transformation. Moving on to Section 3, Synthesizing Global Spiritual Traditions, a Unified Path. Here, we can impartially unpack how Su Feng intentionally borrows and stacks core tenets from major world religions to define the celestial's ultimate character. Step 1. Embody the profound empathy and heart of Christ. Step 2. Continue Buddha's mission of compassionate salvation. And Step 3. Emulate Muslims in their fierce commitment to stripping away layers of tyranny. It's a very deliberate, fascinating merging of global faiths. So, how do all these disparate traditions fit together without totally clashing? Well, according to the text, they're all ultimately bound together by a unifying dedication to the Tao, or the Way. As Xu Feng writes, with a heart for the Tao, they transcend worldly conventions and forge ahead on their noble path. The Tao acts as the universal thread, weaving these global teachings into one singular spiritual journey. And that brings us to our final part, Section 4, the ultimate celestial mission, the final goal. So the crucial point here is that the text lays down an uncompromising, singular focus for their mission through what it calls the four absolutes. First, their only sovereign is the greatest creator.
Second, their sole true possession is life itself. Third, their singular pursuit is truth. And fourth, their ultimate aspiration is fully becoming a celestial being. They aren't striving for earthly recognition at all. Their goals align entirely with an eternal cosmic flow.
Now, this intense spiritual focus absolutely does not equal passivity. The celestial actually has a dual response to the world. Toward the world's suffering, they offer deep love and empathy, but toward the world's wickedness, the text mandates a righteous hatred and a command to strike boldly. So while they're heavily described through the lens of serenity, they are called to rise fearlessly when pressed. It's this delicate balance of ultimate compassion and fierce resistance to evil. Ultimately, Su Feng frames this esoteric philosophy as a direct, urgent call to action for the reader. The text concludes with a really powerful maxim. 1,000-mile journey begins with a single step. A life of brilliance starts with the celestial. It dramatically shifts the tone, right? It goes from a theoretical description of these cosmic beings to a practical invitation, suggesting this elevated state actually begins with a deliberate, singular step.
Which leaves us with a final, provocative question. In our modern world full of bustling crowds, does true clarity actually require us to rise above the noise like those solitary peaks? Or is the Life Chan Yuan Celestial simply an unattainable romantic ideal? Regardless of where you land, these teachings offer a deeply fascinating lens for examining our own spiritual independence. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep exploring.